providing a stronger nation's annual council in session yesterday to promote copyright infringement.
Also actually
and discuss football.
Hi, I'm Chris Harrington.
Ronaldo shaved his head. This when he
with a little help of Robert Lewandowski.
I have a lot of tricks.
One of the world's best penalty takers.
Sometimes it's like a game, a fight between me and goalkeeper.
He knows how to deal with pressure.
Everything is about mentality.
Robert Lewandowski has shot 48 penalties in his career. He scored 43 of them. That's a hit rate of nearly 90%.
Sometimes you have to know one step before what the goalkeeper can do it.
And be one step ahead of the goalkeeper. Let's start with some facts. What is a penalty, really? It is a set piece, which means you can train for it perfectly. The situation is simple, clear and never changes. The distance to the goal is 11 meters. The surface of the goal is around 18 square meters, which happens to be exactly the size of an average flat in Tokyo. A keeper can only cover around 4 square meters, so nearly 80% of the goal is uncovered. That means the taker has the advantage, and the statistics agree. 4 of 5 penalties are converted. But is it that easy?
Outside you think it's very easy, but it's not. Because for me as a striker, as a person who has to score the goal from penalty, every time you're thinking, oh, okay, now you have to be focused, you have to concentrate for your job. And a lot of people say you have 50% chance, okay, but I know that sometimes your feeling from the game is also very important.
So what can you do to get a feeling? Simply by practicing them again and again and again. Not only before knockout games, it's called automatism training. The more often you do a motion sequence, the more your body gets used to it. And in situations of stress, people subconsciously move in well-known, well-trained patterns. There's one technique Robert Lewandowski often uses, the delayed run-up. Before the second to last step of the run-up, he slows down and watches what the keeper is about to do. But this technique particularly needs a lot of training.
I think so that I needed 1 year, 1.5, that after 2 years I scored the first penalty like this. And you know, it's like a technique. I don't know sometimes why, because I do this because my body is ready for this, and you know, it's like not ritual, you know, it's like if I do this, I know that everything will be easier to score the goal.
Now the keepers know the trick and wait longer to jump.
Sometimes, okay, I know that the goalkeeper waiting for this, and sometimes I feel, okay, maybe now he will be waiting what I do. So now I'm scoring normally. Sometimes you have to know one step before what the goalkeeper can do it.
Does he know that you know? Do you know that he knows that you know?
You cannot think about what he's doing, because you know, sometimes it's like a game and it's like a fight between me and goalkeeper, and it doesn't matter what he did, what he do. I have to do my job and stay focused of my score.
But to do your job as a world-class penalty taker, you have to change, to improve, to reinvent yourself and your technique to be unpredictable. Improvisation may be nice in music, but in terms of penalty, it's not a good idea. The moment you put the ball on the spot, you need a plan, a strategy. You should know where you want to shoot, but where? Statisticians have been interested in penalties for decades. Mathematician Roland Loy evaluated more than 500 penalties, divided the goal into 60 target areas. His conclusion: no penalty shot in the upper half of the goal could be saved. Which leads us to the question, left or right?
Left, right, left, right.
In sports science, they speak about the taker's natural side, the middle, and the taker's so-called unnatural side. If the taker is right-footed, the left side is the natural side and the right side is the unnatural. If they are left-footed, everything is switched. The statistics say that 81% of all penalties shot in the middle are converted, compared to 77% shot in the natural side, and only 70%, that means only 2 of 3 penalties, of the unnatural side. And every keeper has a strong and a weak hand, but most of the keepers are right-handed. When the goalie guesses correct and jumps to the left side, he must use his right hand to save the ball. But he cannot build the same counter pressure with his offhand as with the right hand. And that's also what the statistics say. Even if the keeper guesses correctly, more than 70% of penalties are still successfully converted if the keeper has to use their weak hand. If they can use their strong hand, it's only 55.2%.
That means if you are left-footed and you choose your natural right corner, you have a clear advantage, statistically. Otherwise, just shoot in the middle.
Either way, when you put the ball on the spot, you should know where you want to shoot.
Sometimes, if I catch the ball and I go into penalty, this is time when I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm score for the right side. Yeah, not before the game. Sometimes also before the game. Sometimes if I get the penalty today, I score the left side because I feel that today I should score there.
But what about the incredible pressure of the penalty moment? Let's go back to one of the most spectacular games in the history of football, the 2005 Champions League final, Milan against Liverpool. Liverpool was 3-0 behind after the first half, but with a furious catch-up race, the Reds equalized. In the penalty shootout, the Polish keeper Jerzy Dudek became a hero. Before every Milan penalty, he danced and bent his knees to confuse the takers. With these mental tricks, even experienced players like Andrea Pirlo and Andrei Shevchenko missed from the spot. The Dudek dance became history. How do you deal with the pressure of such a moment?
Everything is about mentality, because if you are very strong in the head, if you're strong mentality, that is easier to be calm, to be stronger, to be ready to score the goal. And of course, if you see the 80,000 people looks for you and looks how you scored or how you put the ball on the target and you miss, what's now? And you have to be ready. You have to be strong when you have way to the ball directly before you score the goal. You have to be focus on your job, and I think this is the most important things.
But how can you show strength as a taker? The body language has a major impact on the result. If the taker, after positioning the ball and walking back to prepare for the run-up, turns their back to the keeper, this is perceived as a typical flight behavior. If you immediately start your run-up after the referee has blown the whistle, the keeper will think you feel uncomfortable and hate the situation, that you simply want to get it over with. The keeper will think the taker is weak, I can save the ball. Alternatively, walking backwards in preparing for the run-up facing the goalkeeper will make you seem extremely self-confident. And add a few seconds after the whistle blow before you start the run-up. Your message, I am comfortable, I am enjoying the situation. Hence, the keeper doesn't believe that he can save the ball.
It doesn't matter what's happening. You cannot think about what's happened after, what's happening before, or what's happened if you lose. No, you have to do this, and after this you can thinking, okay, what's next? What is the next step?
Exactly. Forget all the stats. Every shot penalty lies in the past and has nothing to do with the actual situation. So, what do you need to convert a penalty?
I cannot speak about my trick, because if I say now what I do exactly, maybe the next penalty, the next goalkeeper know that. But you need character, hard work, talent, skills. Because I know I'm the player who, okay, I can do the skills, but I know that sometimes important is to score the goal.
And don't forget to cheer.
At least in a penalty shootout, that is, if you cheer after having scored in a shootout, the probability that the next opponent taker misses increases by 7%. And the probability that the next teammate scores increases by 7% as well. I love statistics.
Just practice penalties as often as you can and you will start enjoying them. Just like Robert Lewandowski.
Lewandowski has scored again. What a night for Lewandowski!
What's next? A surprise. That's right, we're going to look at the Bundesliga's biggest surprise of the season, Fortuna Düsseldorf. They're this season's unsung heroes, Fortuna Düsseldorf. Safe for another year in the Bundesliga with 5 games to spare. It seemed an unlikely outcome as the new boys struggled early on. But with a wily old fox in the dugout and a fearless approach on the pitch, they've pulled it off. At the end of last season, Düsseldorf were celebrating their top-flight return after 5 years away. Fortuna fever swept the city. But no one at the club was under any illusions. By early December, they were propping up the table with a meagre 9 points from 14 games. It was time to show their true mettle.
This is the real test of a team, when the players and coaches all have to pull together without kicking up a fuss and just work to get the team moving in the right direction again.
Far from falling apart, they stepped up. The first seeds of revival had already been planted in November, when they earned a memorable draw in Munich.
Tony Lucabacchio, what a moment! Oh, unbelievable!
We played attacking football, obviously from a solid defensive foundation. That would have surprised a lot of people. And since then, the general perception of Fortuna Düsseldorf has been much more positive.
Dodi Lucabacchio had an unforgettable night, scoring all 3 of Düsseldorf's goals in the 3-3 draw in Munich.
He's very fast, so if you play the ball, then he just has to run after it, and then it's easy to make a goal. But yeah, you have to still finish it. So that's a very strong point from him to run in depth and to make the goal. So.
Having acquired a taste for big-time success, Düsseldorf promptly went one better, handing Dortmund their first league defeat of the season in some style.
Oh, one of the goals of the season, surely that is!
They've gone from strength to strength since the mid-season break. 9 wins in their last 15 games headed into this weekend. Only Bayern and Leipzig can top that.
It's been a bumpy ride. At one stage we lost 6 in a row, but we kept our heads, and that's been as important as anything.
A troop of underdogs that have come together to move mountains. And to finish things off, we've got something to ask of you, dear viewers. Until then, see you next time from Kickoff.
Choose your German Football Ambassador 2019. What about Marc-Andre ter Stegen? The star goalkeeper has been shining at Barcelona alongside Messi. Or maybe Leroy Sané, Pep Guardiola's secret weapon at Manchester City. You could pick Anja Mittag, who plays for FC Rosengard in Sweden. good choice could be Antonio Rudiger. The Chelsea defender never backs down. Toni Kroos is always one of the favourites, Real Madrid's midfield maestro. Maybe Ilkay Gundogan from Manchester City? Julian Gressel from Atlanta United? Or PSG's Thilo Kehrer? Go to the website to cast your vote.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I think we've done very well in the very difficult circumstances in which we took over governance.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say!
The perception in itself does more harm than actual corruption that you have.
Plus politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on the media news at Plus TV Africa. I'm David Alabi and we begin with news across Nigeria. The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, on Friday said President Muhammadu Buhari has embarked on a voyage unknown. Speaking during a media briefing on the state of the nation, Secondus said it was condemnable that President Buhari travelled to the United Kingdom without notifying the National Assembly and did not, allegedly, hand over power to Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. He also said 8 local government areas of Katsina State, which is President Buhari's home state, have been overtaken by bandits. According to him, insecurity in the country has risen to a level where people question if there is still a government in Nigeria. We were earlier joined in our Lagos studio by Raymond Nkanebe, a legal practitioner, and this is what he had to say on this matter.
Well, I don't think they are overreacting. I think they are only acting as the foremost opposition party and who are actually doing what they should do to keep the government in check. Now, when the president of a country all of a sudden jets out and then tells the nation that I'll be away for some 10 days and without disclosing where he would be, his itinerary, I think it's a cause for serious concern. And it is good to know that the PDP have actually taken up the gauntlet and ask the government for more clarification as to the whereabouts of the president. He's not traveling on his own, he's traveling on the Nigerian Air Force, taxpayers' money. I believe we deserve some explanation. The president of the country is a public asset. He is no longer an individual personality, as it were. To the extent that he occupies the foremost office of this country, he deserves to tell Nigerians where he's going to and why he is going to that place. So I don't think the PDP have actually done what is completely out of the ordinary.
10 days, is such a long time. Is it that time frame? Does he require to go to the court within that time frame if he's traveling?
Go to court to get...
I mean, go to the National Assembly to get approval, or let them know, inform them formally for a 10-day trip?
Well, I think if it were that he was going for, let's say, vacation, then he will officially transmit a letter to the National Assembly pursuant to Section 145 of the Constitution. And then by that letter, the Vice President would legally be the acting president of the country. But as it is now, some persons might argue that we don't have an acting president because the legal process that would have put the Vice President into acting capacity has not been complied with by the President.
Yeah, what could be the reason for this trip? If he's saying, is he entitled as a public officer and the #1 citizen of this country to take a private trip away from his position of authority without, or is there continuing discharge of his duty even while he is in the UK?
It would have been a different thing entirely if Mr. President had said he's going on vacation. You see, nobody will...
But then he might have been required to hand over power.
If he was going for vacation, right?
Yes.
Of course he would have done that.
But now that he's going on a private trip,
that is what feeds all this suspicion. You say you're going to be away for 10 days. To do what? Are you going on a vacation? Are you going on a health trip? You understand? You have not disclosed why you are going. Because the law says if the president, for any reason, is leaving the country and he wants his vice president to act in his stead, he will write that letter that is mandated by the Constitution so that there will not be a vacuum in the seats of power. Now, the president had absconded without writing a letter to the National Assembly. So in the eye of the law, some people can argue that we don't have, that the seat of the presidency is vacant, as it were.
What could be the possible consequences should that become a thing?
Some persons might, it might be, I don't think it's completely an impeachable offense, but you know what constitutes gross misconduct that would warrant impeachment is always is not exhaustive. So it depends on persons who might go to court and make a case that, to the extent that Mr. President, who swore with the Constitution, who swore to uphold the provisions of the Constitution, having traveled without complying with Section 145 of the Constitution, that amounts to gross misconduct that should warrant him being impeached. But that would be left for the court to determine one way or the other whether the act of Mr. President constitutes an offense that warrants impeachment.
One last question before we go. Isn't it a bit, something of concern, so close to when he will be inaugurated after the election? Is there something not right about it?
I believe so, because this trip, because the schedule of a president is known ahead of time. So definitely this trip, as of last week, was unknown. Perhaps it was maybe 2-3 days ago that all the logistics of the trip were actually worked in. So that means there is something sinister. And when you look at the fact that they have not disclosed where he's going to.
Yeah, but the president was just here in Lagos 2 days ago, and the next thing he was in Maiduguri before he left. So he doesn't look. Some people will argue that he looks healthy, and he spoke to people. Well, I'm not a medical doctor, and some people can look physically healthy, but deep down they are not completely healthy. I'm not wishing the president any ill will or ill health, but I'm saying that he ought to have done what he ought to do to dispel all these suspicions, permutations about his whereabouts. You get? If they had done what they should do, we wouldn't be here talking about this. So when you look at the spectre of, or the climate of insecurity raging all through the country, some might argue that this is a case of narrow fiddling, why Rome burns. Thank you very much, Raymond Kanebe, for coming on the news. It's a pleasure having me.
Meanwhile, the comments made by the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, on the spate of insecurity in the country has been faltered by the All Progressives Congress. Reacting to the comments made by Secondus, APC National Publicity Secretary Larry Sonilu said it is an attempt by the main opposition party to seek relevance following its loss at the last general election. Secondus, who had earlier addressed a press conference in Abuja, had declared that there is no government in Nigeria and, among other things, criticized the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration approach to handling security issues in the country. While addressing newsmen, Secondus had questioned the existence of a government in the country, stating that President Buhari's incompetence in the handling of governance has taken a huge toll on the nation. Now, the People's Democratic Party has accused the All Progressives Congress of using the police to intimidate the school principal that issued Senator Ademola Adeleke's results. The National Publicity Secretary of the party, Kola Ologbondiyan, spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying several family members of the principal have also been detained by the police without any charge. He is calling on the police to release those unlawfully detained immediately.
The Nigerian police, in collaboration with the APC, against arrested Mr. Abbas, the principal of the Ede Muslim High School, Ede, as well as the wife of the school's registrar, Mrs. Rofiyat Oladepo, and her 9-month-old baby. Information available to the PDP shows that AIG Adeleye Oyebade of Zone 2 Osogbo ordered the arrest of the innocent principal of the school and the registrar. When the registrar, Mr. Kabir Oladipo, could not be reached as he is undergoing treatment for legs and arms injuries, which he sustained in a motor accident, AIG Oyebade allegedly ordered one ASP Faliu to arrest his wife, Mrs. Rofiyat Oladepo, with her 9-month-old baby. Both the innocent mother and her baby were dumped at Zone 2 Police Headquarters in Osogbo, even as we speak. It is clear that there is no way a school principal who duly signed and issued a school testimonial under his own hand and position can be said to have forged the same testimonial. The PDP therefore calls on the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Adam Mohammed, to call his men to order on issues related to Senator Adeleke's determination to retrieve his governorship mandate, which was stolen by the All Progressives Congress. While the PDP also urges the IGP to order the immediate release of the innocent school principal, the wife of the school registrar, her baby of 9 months. Our party also counselled the APC and their allies to end their schemes against Senator Adeleke, as they will all come to naught in the face of justice and the will of the people of Osun State.
In a swift reaction, now the senator representing Osun West Senatorial District, Ademola Adeleke, has dismissed as laughable and an abuse of court processes a suit seeking his removal as senator. A statement issued on Friday night by Niyi Owolade, Adeleke's legal advisor, stated that, and I quote, "The initial judgment that this irritating suit is based on has been widely condemned by all learned minds, especially as the document wrongly declared as forged was duly issued by the authorities of the school," end of quote. Adeleke's legal advisor said that it is in court records that the school principal deposed to an affidavit confirming the testimonial and statement of results were duly issued by the school. He queried why Adeleke's results will be declared fake when WAEC's deputy registrar also came to depose to an affidavit in court with the certified true copies of the same results submitted by a senator for his senatorial election screening. Senator Adeleke, however, reassured the supporters and the people of Osun State that there is no cause for alarm as this suit will be surely dismissed in its totality. Away from that report, Dr. Oji Uzokalu of the All Progressives Congress, who was declared winner of the Abia North Senatorial District election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, has been told that it cannot get away with a stolen mandate. The challenge was made on Friday by the leadership of the PDP in Abia North Senatorial District during a solidarity visit to the incumbent Senator Mao Ohabunwa. During the visit, the party members pledged their unflinching support in Ohabunwa's bid to recover his stolen mandate, with the Abia North Zonal Chairman of the PDP, Matthew Ibe, declaring that the PDP will stop at nothing until, quote, the people's mandate given to our candidate but forcefully stolen by the APC is returned, end of quote. Honorable Ibe also expressed shock that INEC issued a certificate of return to Kalu. And back in Lagos State, the state government, through the Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy on yesterday, pardoned 14 inmates of the maximum security prison Conakry who have been imprisoned for over 20 years for various offences, while 20 others on death row had their punishment now converted to life imprisonment. Speaking while handing over the order for the release of the inmates signed by Governor Akinwumi Ambode to prison authorities, the State Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice Adeniji Kazim Sian said the development was pursuant to the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended Section 212, subsection 2, which provides for the constitution of an advisory council and grants the governor power to grant clemency to convicted persons on the advice of the council. In stronger security matters now, armed hoodlums terrorizing Ahoda in the Lerumuji Amoha axis of the East-West Road have kidnapped 2 oil workers in River State, killing 2 members of their security. The incident reportedly occurred on Thursday evening. The victims, who were said to be senior staff members of Shell Petroleum Development Company, are said to be returning from an official trip from neighboring Bayelsa State, where the daredeviled hoodlums struck, killing their police security aide and an escort driver attached to the convoy before whisking away to an unknown destination. It was gathered that the Shell convoy was attacked between Rumuji and Eveku community on Thursday evening while they were returning from Bayelsa State. And sadly, 3 people were also feared killed and several others injured yesterday in a fresh crisis that rocked Keswan Mangani community in Kaduna State. The development forced the state government to impose a 24-hour curfew on Kajuru local government area in order to forestall an escalation of crisis in the area. As of the time of filing this report, security operatives were yet to apprehend or identify perpetrators of the killings, just as the identities of the casualties were still unknown. In its reaction to the latest security threat in the state, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, on Media and Publicity, Samuel Arwan, said the imposition of the curfew on Kajuru was to avert any further breakdown of law and order, and also to prevent the crisis from spilling over to neighboring villages and the local council. He urged citizens to comply with the curfew and also support the efforts of the government and security agencies to ensure peace and stability in the community. President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday presented awards to 168 ex-corps members drawn from the 2015, 2016, 2017 sets at the State House Banquet Hall, Abuja. President Buhari, who was represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, also announced automatic employment to the awardees in the Federal Civil Service and scholarships up to doctorate level in any Nigerian university. Former head of state Yakubu Gowon, who created the National Youth Service Corps in 1973, was also in attendance. 15 ex-corps members who suffered disability during their service here were also recognized under the NYSC Hope Alive program. The President's NYSC Honors Award was instituted in 1974 to encourage corps members to contribute to the overall national development of the country by embarking on community development projects. Nigeria joined other Commonwealth nations worldwide to mark the League of Nations 70th anniversary as it hosted the Commonwealth flag in Abuja. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Suleiman Mustafa, says the theme of this year's celebration, which is a connected Commonwealth, captures the need for Commonwealth countries to continue to work together to tackle global challenges from terrorism, migration, climate change, human trafficking, among many other pertinent issues.
There's value to all of the members of the Commonwealth in reminding ourselves of those things that bind us together as nations and support the links between our countries, reminding ourselves of those things that we have in common rather than the things that can divide us. And as the UK has been chair in office, we've tried to focus the members of the Commonwealth on the ways in which the Commonwealth can be helpful as the world changes. We're no longer in the world of 70 years ago when the Commonwealth was created. Very many things have changed now, but with the focus on sustainability and of combating terrorism, these sorts of issues that are so relevant and so important in the modern world, the Commonwealth maintains its value.
Over the past 7 decades, the Commonwealth has transformed its membership from an association of former British colonies to an inclusive supranational organization with the admittance of Rwanda and Mozambique. The two countries have no historical ties to the British Empire. Evidently, member states are now more unified by shared values and goals at this stage of the Commonwealth of Nations. Some of the laudable goals of the Commonwealth include democratic governance, human rights, protection of the environment, and the rule of law. There is no doubt that the Commonwealth has positively impacted on member states through the promotion of trade, sports, culture, democratic norms, educational development, youth and women empowerment, human rights, good governance, the rule of law, and social and economic development.
The report on the Commonwealth's 70th anniversary wraps up our news across Nigeria. When we come back after the short break, we'll bring you plenty more reports from the rest of Africa. To stay with us. Glad to have you back, and if you're just joining us, you're watching Plus TV, Africa's Media News, and here's our Africa News package. Heavy rains pounded northern Mozambique on Saturday, fueling fears of flooding 2 days after a cyclone hit the coast, flattened buildings and knocked out communication. Aid agencies said that they were still struggling to reach victims and work out the extent of the devastation in the northern province of Cabo Delgado. Cyclone Kenneth, packing storm surges and winds of up to 280 kilometers per hour, struck on Thursday night, destroying almost all the homes on the island of Ibo and killing at least one person in the port city of Pemba, Mozambican authorities said. And the organizers of the protest that drove Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir from power say they are meeting with the ruling military council for negotiations on forming a transitional government. The Sudanese Professionals Association, which spearheaded the protest, says Saturday's meeting is the first for a joint committee talks with addressing disputes between both sides. The protesters are demanding a full transfer of power to a civilian government during a 4-year transitional period. Army leaders have called for a 2-year transition during which the generals will retain power and give only executive authorities to civilians. The protesters resumed negotiations with the army on Wednesday after 3 members of the council resigned from their post, apparently in response to the protesters' demands. On the flip side of this break comes our foreign news package.
seek their dream. Throb with desire. Joy welled up in their hearts. A brand new life adventure is about to begin. Create a life for someone new. Nigerians in China on StarTimes Da Donkoa.
On the international front now, U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden raised $6.3 million in the first 24 hours of his campaign, providing a stronger showing than any of his rivals. Biden, who is 76, brought in the bulk of the haul through smaller contributions. His campaign spokesperson TJ Duckler wrote on Twitter, with 97% of those donations under $200. He has led the rest of the Democratic field in the first day fundraising, including Bernie Sanders, who raised $5.9 million, and Beto O'Rourke, who brought in $6.1 million. Prior to entering the race on Thursday, Biden faced speculation that he was going to be unable to raise small dollar donations via the internet, which has been viewed as a test of viability and support in the Democratic Party. And now, President Donald Trump has said he's pulling the United States out of an international arms treaty designed to prevent weapons being sold to those who abuse human rights. President Trump made the announcement at the National Rifle Association's annual meeting, signing an order to the U.S. Senate to stop the ratification process. The 2013 Arms Trade Treaty, which puts restrictions on weapons exports, was signed by then-President Barack Obama but never ratified by the Senate. Neither China nor Russia have signed the agreement, leading conservatives to argue that acceptance would put U.S. businesses at an unfair disadvantage. In still bringing you reports from the United States, on Friday it imposed sanctions on Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arreza, saying it would pursue those in President Nicolas Maduro's government for corruption, as well as officials conducting diplomacy on his behalf. The Treasury Department said a judge in the Court of Appeals for Caracas, Carol Padilla, were targeted in the latest round of U.S. sanctions against Maduro's government over the crisis in Venezuela. Washington blames Maduro for the country's economic collapse and for undermining democracy. The Trump administration recognized Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido as the South American nation's interim president and has asked Maduro, a socialist in power since 2013, to step down. We now shift our focus to business news in Nigeria. At this hour, we are talking business in Lagos. Prior to the 2019 gubernatorial election, the now governor-elect of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, emphasized on making Lagos a 21st century economy. Well, our business correspondent Irene Ubani caught up with the governor-elect, and this is what he had to say.
21st century economy, what should we expect moving forward?
21st century economy?
Yes.
Well, it's only an economy, right, that can bring about growth, that can bring about prosperity. It's an economy that can give opportunity to people and give the private sector the opportunity for them to thrive and do well. Once they do well, employment will be created, wealth will be created, and people will have a better and a more prosperous quality of life. That's what the 21st century. And we need to have a lot of cultural change. Let's remove our perception. You know, all of the things that we used to do. Let's change it. Because
that was Governor-elect of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, speaking there. And still talking business in Nigeria, the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, has called for the revitalization of Nigeria's ailing refineries to pave way for sufficient local supply of petroleum products across the nation. The oil workers, who argue that it was a shame for the country to be depending on imported products for local consumption, urged President Muhammadu Buhari to use his second term in office to end Nigeria's reliance on imported products. The The union, which made its position known during its National Executive Council in session yesterday, noted that Nigeria's overdependence on petroleum products importation has made the country to be very vulnerable to the antics and manipulations of local and foreign barons. The bank president, however, pledged that the union would give the president all necessary support he needs to put an end to the menace. That's it in business at this hour. Still to come, entertainment and sports. Nollywood actress Tunde has revealed some movie producers do engage in practices that promote copyright infringement of movies. Speaking during an exclusive one-on-one interview with Plus TV Africa, she explained that some movies are illegally circulated by producers with the mentality of gaining from both ends. According to her, some producers believe that failure to take such actions will create a situation where criminals would make illegal gains from their movies before they do. Tunde feels this activity hurts more than it protects, though she further acknowledged that Nollywood industry is not in a bad place. She opined that there is a lot of room for improvement.
It is so deep that the truth is that the same producers, the same directors, the same marketers are the ones who are also actually pirating the cities. You see, there's a time I overheard a conversation. I didn't know what was going on. I'm not the business side of Nollywood. I don't really care much about it. But I did hear a conversation once between things like this. The producer was like, you know what, instead of them to go and pirate my own movie, let me go and pirate it myself and put it in the market so that if they're not buying the original, they're buying the pirated. We're cleaning ourselves. We're cleaning ourselves. The pirates on the streets, we are the same people who put them in their hands. We sell it to them. So if we can stop all of these things that we, from inside, I mean, the ones outside too will stop. So if we're fighting corruption, we have to start from inside. The ones who are doing it to themselves need to stop, because you can't be fighting what you are instigating.
Sport updates comes now. Talking sports now, our focus is football as the English Premier League. Liverpool once again put the pressure back on Manchester City as they return to the top of the table after they defeated already relegated Huddersfield at Anfield. Jurgen Klopp's side won by 5-0 and are now 2 points clear of the reigning champions, who have a game in hand. Naby Keita scored the first, which was the Reds' quickest goal in a Premier League game and also the 100th goal in all competitions this term. Mo Salah and Sadio Mane both got a brace to seal the victory for Liverpool. Liverpool have now amassed more points than Arsenal's unbeaten Invincibles team of 2003 and 2004 and have 12 points more than the Manchester United's treble-winning team of 1998-1999. Manchester City, though, can regain top spot if they win their game in hand at Burnley on Sunday, after which both teams have 2 games left. And still talking football, the English Football League called off Bolton's game against Brentford on Saturday 16 hours before it was scheduled to kick off because Bolton's players said they would not play until they received the wages they are owed. A statement from the EFL said that none of the March's wages owed to the Wanderers players have been paid, and as a result of these disappointing developments, the league has been forced to suspend Saturday's fixture. Quote, the club, Bolton, is now deemed to be guilty of misconduct and it will be referred to an independent disciplinary committee, end of quote. In a club statement, Bolton said that they would like to apologize for the inconvenience this has caused. Bolton's relegation to League One was confirmed on the 19th of this month when they lost to Aston Villa. And that's a news roundup of events this hour from our Lagos studio. For more news, updates and broadcasts, please follow us at Plus TV Africa, that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And please do remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
and welcome to this episode of Africa on the Move in partnership with DW. Today's episode will be focusing on entertainment. So we start with Islewood. What is Islewood, you ask? Well, it's about the film industry telling the positive side of Somali refugees living in Kenya. It was started in 2001 by Iman Bohan. Interested? See for yourself.
Could Iman Burhan be the Somali-Kenyan version of Steven Spielberg? Maybe, but the difference is that Iman's films are not purely commercial. The man has a mission, and it's called Islewood.
You can get here a refugee, someone who's actually fled from Somalia, fled from Al-Shabaab, who's here a refugee. But they are trying actually they are doing business, like hawkers, shoes shine, small business. Nobody is telling their stories. People are busy telling a story of criminals, gangs like Al-Shabaab. So we are trying in one way to tell our culture, our positive side.
Iman founded Islewood in 2001, 14 years after he came to Kenya. For young Somalis, his creative platform is the only way out of ethnic isolation.
Before I reach my home, I get the messages from young people. Hey Iman, I would like to be actor, I would like to be model, I would like to be singer, I would like to be dancer. Iman, help me out. So immediately I just said, I will help you out. As long as you are talented, as long as you are passionate for this, I'll make sure I help you. I just try to mentor them, to motivate them.
And motivation is urgently needed in the Somali community. After the terror attacks by Al-Shabaab on Nairobi's Westgate Mall, Iman and his colleague Adan Osman have seen discrimination on every level.
After Westgate, the discrimination was pretty bad. People, they don't think of us as good people. They just condemned us, It hurts, when you are like in a matatu and people start looking at you like, like a suspect. We don't deserve that. Al-Shabaab, they don't stand for all Somalis.
Eastleigh, or Little Mogadishu, is dominated by Somali businesses. A quarter of Nairobi's tax revenue is generated here, making it vital for Kenya's capital. And yet Somalis are culturally isolated.
Silence on set, silence on set.
Iman's project offers ethnic groups a chance to interact.
Islewood is playing a big role, a very big role, because it has reduced crime in a way. Because most of the guys who are perpetrating heinous activities in the communities, most of them have joined and also showcased their talent.
Islewood's films are shown in tiny cinema halls in the neighborhood. The challenge, however, is that Iman and his team not only face discrimination from Kenyans, they also struggle with accusations from their own community.
So many people actually are trying to disseminate a lot of propagandas, telling us, you guys, you are changing our youth, you are targeting beautiful girls, you are promoting Western, values. They want us to stop what we are doing. But I'm saying, today, if I die, there are so many like Iman who will take from it. And we hope Islewood will work generations like Hollywood.
Iman's project is funded by local businesses, and it turns out to be a very successful one.
It is important we tell our stories. I like the fact that despite the accusation and discrimination, Iman is trudging on and even getting funding for his films. From making films, we go to watching films. In Cameroon, Christian Kwesi is determined to give the visually impaired a feel of watching films.
A fitness trainer comes to his home every morning because Christian Kwesi needs to exercise a lot. A side effect of the medication is that I gain weight really quickly. Christian lost his eyesight at the age of 20. He now wants to do something for blind people in Cameroon. He shows films with audio descriptions. The district authority is hosting the event at the community hall. This is the fourth screening the 28-year-old and his friends have organized. Cultural centers show movies, but they are only for people who can see. Nobody thinks of us. If people like us with disabilities don't help ourselves, nobody will. His former schoolmate Patrick relaxes after helping to set things up. We're all moved by how strong he is, by how he keeps forging ahead. It gives us a push. The first guest to arrive is an old acquaintance. He's come all the way from a town in western Cameroon. But disenchantment soon sets in. The district authority failed to send out invitations. No one else has showed up. We're going to watch the movie anyway, even if it's only for Luke. He has traveled so far to get here. At least the film suits the situation. The Untouchables is a French comedy about a man who can't move his body from the neck down, but wants to enjoy life regardless. Christian was Cameroon's youngest high school graduate. He used to dream of a career in business. Now I'm fighting to be as independent as possible. The two friends are not giving up. Somewhat frustrated, they set off to promote additional screenings. Then they make a brief stop to charge up his cell phone. I can't move around the city on my own. The city doesn't provide for that at all. Christian and Patrick have an appointment with the province's social affairs delegate. They hope to get better support from her for their next screenings. We had never heard of films for blind people. Christian is bringing along a real innovation. The politician wants to support him. Christian Kwesi hopes this will prove to be one more step toward making the city a more livable place for people with disabilities.
Christian Kwesi's story is one of the selfless individual who is looking beyond his disability to help others like him. Now from film, we go to music. One man thinks that bongo flavor in Tanzania can change the world.
Baraka the Prince is well known in his neighborhood in Dar es Salaam. He's a bongo flavor singer and songwriter. Everyone here knows his music and likes to sing along with him. Today Baraka is 22 years old. From his earliest childhood he dreamed of becoming a famous singer, but his father strongly opposed his musical ambitions. I remember one day I was performing somewhere at a festival and someone tipped off my dad. I was beaten a lot that day. But that didn't deter him. He moved to Dar es Salaam, about 1,000 kilometers away from his hometown Mwanza, and recorded this song, Siachani Nawe, meaning I won't let go of you. When we released the song, we never thought that it could be this popular. We recorded it and made a video and left it out there. Fortunately, many Tanzanians liked the song and it became a big hit. The music video reached the top 10 and was broadcast on TV in Tanzania and across East Africa. But one song couldn't earn him a living. That's why artists like Baraka are over the moon when they're discovered by Joseph Kusaga. For almost 3 decades, he's been promoting young, talented musicians.
There are a lot of talents out there, but the money issue, as you said, is a challenge for them. Actually, getting studio time right now, I think per record is about 400,000, 300 or 400,000, which is not small money. It's big money.
300,000 Tanzanian shillings is about 150 euros. Joseph Kusaga is the manager of a popular radio station. By giving artists free airtime on his radio station and on television, Kusaga has made bongo flavor East Africa's most popular style of music.
Before, it was very difficult for people to support bongo music because I remember most of the people thought that bongo music was, rap was for hooligans. But now people are taking music as very serious.
Bongo flavor has now conquered the hearts of the population in Tanzania. My biggest dream is to make Tanzania known internationally through music. And Baraka the Prince is determined to do everything in his power to make that dream come true.
From Tanzania, we head to Cameroon, where Ruben Binam is helping music artists in Cameroon to not only find expression, but to make profits and put their sound on the global stage.
Ruben Binam's backyard is a meeting point for Yaoundé's vibrant music scene. Musicians practice here every day. The band Kemyi Savin has even performed their Afro jazz on European stages. Ruben wants to pave the way for the musicians with rehearsals, performances, and his record label Alizé Equateur Records. I'm convinced that entrepreneurship can solve musicians' problems. For a long time, Cameroonian artists have been waiting for solutions to come from other people. The biggest problem for Cameroonian musicians is piracy. Shops selling copyrighted music are few and far between. Ruben distributes his CDs through a chain of gas stations across the country. Cameroon's first paid internet streaming service has also just been launched. Digitization is a solution if we can offer the people what they want and do it on a legal basis. The biggest commercial success to date, Ex Malaya. Every Cameroonian knows this boy band. Ruben and the three boys are exploring new venues for their next video clip. I find this place quite risky, but it's very beautiful. A film crew from Nigeria is producing the video.
This location is amazing, and we get to see the whole city. And there are not many points that we can fly the drone very effectively here.
Video clips for the selfie generation. Today, Africa's music industry actually makes more money from ringtones than music albums. Ruben and his colleagues don't need a lot of space for their work. The small room on the ground floor of his house is his sales headquarters, programming room, and studio. I'm lucky to be someone who can organize things. That's why I always manage to do my own music in between. And there's nearly always time for a small jam session with Ruben's studio. If all goes well, this song too will end up on his online music platform.
The African music industry is taking on the world. Still in music, we head to Guinea, where a woman is using music for activism, getting women to talk about forbidden topics like female genital mutilation and sex.
Sian Bomba and her cohorts are planning what they call a culture raid. Their target, Fode Bakera, is a former Ghanaian culture minister and music manager. The women want to direct his attention to their activities at the Solio Academy. Sian Bomba wasn't exactly invited this day, but she arrived anyway. I have nothing other than my voice and my songs. That's a choice I made. I did my studies, but I was never able to work in my field. My aim is to speak on behalf of women whose voices are never heard. That's what inspired Sian Bomba to launch her initiative to promote young female artists. She has no workspace for them yet, so everything's improvised. Bomba wants to help these women develop their potential and empower them to discuss issues usually considered taboo, such as sexuality and female genital cutting. There are things that are important to us and the younger generation, things we need to address here in Conakry. Let's talk about them. The sensitivity of our bodies is not something that was created by someone, it's something we're born with. Anyone who wants to cut a girl has to know there's a vital part of her body that's being taken away from her. Sian Bomba also acts as a coach for young women. Her role resembles that of a big sister. 2 weeks ago, one of the women in her academy had a baby, but her partner left her, and now she's a single mother. Men just aren't there. That's what's so terrible. We need men to be more responsible. Women want men to take more responsibility and use condoms without our having to tell them to. As soon as a baby is on the way, they disappear. Sian Bomba has plenty of experience on that front. She has 3 children and is raising them alone. But she still developed a career in the music business. That was only possible with talent, a good education, and support from others. Another goal of her academy is to support and encourage participants beyond music. You're still young. You're going to make it. Don't make the same mistakes we did. My baby's not going to stop me. When she cries, I'll take her with me. I'm going to stay in the academy with the other women. I haven't lost heart. Do what you really want and don't give up. That's Sian Bomba's philosophy.
Across the continent, people are using ways like music to talk about serious and political issues. Well, a young female rapper, MC Law in Uganda, is rapping the news. Yes, you heard me right. Rapping the news. Now take a look.
I do a lot of stuff girls don't do. I climb trees, I can somersault, I can dance this break dance.
Uganda's youngest female rapper is 14 and goes by the name of MC Loy. She's become a star in her own country, regularly rapping the news on Uganda's NTV. The weekly voice recording in a production company is followed by a TV studio session. This modern news format is designed to reach young people who don't normally watch the news.
Despite concern that the bill might hurt the economy and send back tobacco farmers back to poverty. Making them to get to know what's happening in the country, abroad and so on. That really helps them to know what's going on in the world, because if you live in the world and you know nothing about what's happening, then you may find yourself in a bad thing or a problem or so on.
That often happens to people in her generation. Half the population is under 15. Facebook and WhatsApp predominate here. Young people would rather listen to music than to the news. So what better way is there to reach them than to bring them the message across with music? Zoe Kabuye, that's her real name, buys newspapers as often as she can. So what is it that really bothers her?
That's part of child abuse, not taking a child at school. I wouldn't blame parents who don't have money to take children at school, but I would only blame the government, which doesn't build the infrastructure for the kids and so on, schools, yeah.
Her desire to remove fear and instill courage motivates her to teach kids at Sunday school.
Verse 8 to 37. You will hold a son in your arms. Well, she has no son and her husband is old.
Education for all, no more corruption. She has even put her demands to the president, rapping them, of course.
Yes, I'm proud to be a Ugandan living in the beautiful motherland, the Pearl of Africa that grows every day and night with mega malls, roads, hospitals, education system, and so much more. But we need some more. And I want to be the first male president of my country, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. What? Yeah, that was it. Oh.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I made him know that I want to be. So he should just get prepared for MC Loy. We'll be in his seat someday.
According to the Constitution, she has to wait until she is 35 to run for presidency. That leaves her plenty of time.
And MC Loy wants to be president, so Uganda, get ready for a rapid president, y'all. The young men in our next story are using humor to shed light on their realities in Zimbabwe. They have over 6 million viewers.
This trio has become Zimbabwe's comedy sensation. With their political satire show Zambezi News, the comedians make a witty parody of state propaganda and burning issues in Zimbabwe. The team is constantly working on new material.
Well, right now, this particular sketch basically is about race relations. It's a big thing in Africa, but a lot in Zimbabwe as well, the interaction between black and white people. So this is basically a white man, a white reporter from Zambezi News, Jerome Weathers, who's proving that blacks and whites get along.
I've been your politically correct correspondent, Jerome. Rainbow is my color, Weathers.
Zambezi News is distributed on social media and DVDs. It has over 6 million viewers. While it's not broadcast on Zimbabwe's state media, it has fans in other African countries because it sheds critical light on political realities. That's why state authorities perceive the show as an affront.
I think, I think that's always the joke in Zimbabwe, is that you've got freedom of expression, but you don't have freedom after expression. That's it's definitely the case with Zambezi News, is that it's very kind of outspoken political satire, and of course we deal with the powers that be.
Based in the capital, Harare, Zambezi News reports from a country in the grip of a repressive regime after almost 30 years. The three comedians use satire to prompt people to think about sensitive issues and disregard threats and intimidation. The guiding principle of Zambezi News is you can laugh away your fear, but you can't look away from it.
Welcome to what is this for again? The Shoko Festival. Okay. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone who worked on this great festival that is benefiting the nation. It is good for tourism, and seeing flocks of artistic immigrants swarming from the imperialist nations and leaving their local currencies in our nation. And make sure that you have all the necessary clearance and documents, or we will come there and shut you down.
We always laugh at situations, We're just trying to get people to laugh more, so that you don't cry so much and you don't complain so much. It's happening, yes, life is tough right now, but don't let it bury you. So this is why we're looking at life from a different angle, from a funny sort of angle.
The Zambezi News team is going into its 4th season. The cast is still confronted by state security agents who claim the comedians are pursuing an anti-government agenda. Considering Zimbabwe's outlook, there seems to be a need for the kind of comedy that Zambezi News provides.
Like we say in local parlance right here, if I no laugh, I go cry. Sometimes humor is a good outlet. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Africa on the Move in partnership